Welcome to week 9 of Overtime, where Packer fans break down the news throughout the week, our score predictions for week 9, and our power rankings for the current state of the NFL conditions. So if this is your first time checking out Overtime, grab yourself a drink. It is time to pour ourselves another Packers podcast. Overtime. I've never done the overtime intro before. I thought it would be cool. I've never seen a blue duck before, and I wanted to see what a blue duck looked like. Speaking of which, should we talk about the Bears start off?
What?
I had the
You were breaking up there.
Well, it wasn't. We're not breaking up. We're going to be together for a while. The Bears. I picked the Bears last week and 10 in my power rankings, and they blew it. Got nothing there? Do you want to crack open a drink or something? Do you want to chug a beer? How do you want to start this episode? For the love of God, quit looking at me with your victory shades on.
I thought you were going to redo your intro.
Well, wait to my intro. My intro is perfectly fine.
Oh, okay. At the end of it, you were like, overtime. Oh, I like that. I should have said overtime. So I thought you were going to redo it. That's why I was waiting.
No, I said overtime.
You said
overtime.
Or another Packers podcast.
Overtime.
Or overtime. Okay.
And I pointed. I think I pointed.
All right.
You didn't know we were recording just now. Oh, that's
no, I did.
Okay. All right.
I did. I thought I was holding back because I thought you were going to redo your intro. I was trying to be respectful of your intro game.
You make me sound like I'm this authoritative, like terrible person to record that. Okay, let's take it down a notch.
No, that's not what I'm getting at all.
There's a larger percentage of people that might be watching this for the first time that have no idea how well I treat you unless we talk about our weekly picks, in which case I absolutely destroy you almost every week. So,
okay.
We don't have to start by talking about the Bears. Do you have a beer that you were planning on chugging or anything this episode?
I don't think so. I'm not feeling a beer. I'm not feeling a maple syrup chug tonight.
Okay, that's perfectly fine.
I have this. I am on number 3 glass of maple syrup, and it's been a long day.
Yeah.
I needed a relaxing evening, drinking some maple syrup and talking football.
Yeah. I don't think the drinking is a problem, but it can be a problem. But I don't think it's a problem for this throttling of the channel or anything like that.
You don't think so?
I've been watching more and more like these channels, kind of like ours, bigger, of course. Ours just a tiny one right now, but I see them drinking all the time.
Really? Okay.
I'm honestly starting to think that they're drinking because of us. At least that's what my ego wants to say, but I know that they have no idea who we are. So I'm okay with that too. I'm perfectly fine with it.
Well, I mean, it actually is maple syrup. I've just been pounding maple syrup this entire time.
Beautiful.
So I haven't. I don't want diabetes.
Diabetes. I want to reverse this a little bit. So I'm still trying to figure out the right way. First thing we're going to do is around the NFL, news topics, stuff that we want to talk about. And then I want to hit our power rankings because that always comes last. And by that point, we already have a pretty good idea of who we like on these power rankings. And then I think instead of doing a hour and 15 minutes recap of last week, why don't we just look forward to week 9? And then we can talk about where these teams were. We'll figure this out eventually. But let's try that flow tonight.
Yeah.
What NFL topic would you like to talk about first, Christian?
Well, so the trade deadline is coming up, and actually it ends up on the 5th.
Yeah.
Election day. Remember the 5th of November when the 2024 election happened, and the 24 NFL trade deadline happened.
Are you anticipating any crazy Packers trades by the trade deadline?
That's my question. That's my question to you. Do you see the Packers making any moves before the trade deadline?
So back in training camp, I was pretty adamant that this would be Preston Smith's last season with the Packers.
Mhm.
So if I'm going to pinpoint any player that might deserve a trade or we could trade away, that would be probably the only one that I would look at. There's not really anyone else amongst the roster that I can think of. Eric Stokes might come to mind on the corner side of thing. He hasn't been playing the best, but I don't know what his trade capital ultimately would look like. And it's nice to have depth at cornerback, even if he hasn't had some really outstanding games. Valentine has been up and down with injuries. Haven't really heard Valentine's name a whole lot, but for me, I mean, I don't think they do anything. I really don't. I think
You don't see any acquisitions bringing anybody. I mean, I don't necessarily foresee them trading away any players. My thought is, if anything's going to happen for the Packers, at least, it would be bringing somebody in. But I don't know where that would be, honestly.
well, if they're going to acquire it, it would require giving up draft capital, and the
Right.
Packers don't like to give up draft capital. We know that about them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, where's the weakness? If we're going to talk about trade deadlines, where's the area that we're the weakest that they would go and get?
Yeah, that's hard to say, because I feel like, I mean, before McManus, that was the spot, right? Kicker,
For sure.
outside of that, I don't personally, there's no players that I would replace.
No, I'm
But-
with you. I mean, even if they traded away Preston Smith, I don't know who they're going to get to come in
Right.
and fill that role. Like I said, it sounds, and it's a good problem to have, but I don't see any glaring weakness on this team, and any of their deficiencies that we've talked about either in this most recent episode or in past episodes. It's not necessarily the skill player themselves as much as it is just figuring it out. I think they just got to figure it out.
Yeah, I think the weapons that they have on offense are sufficient and can be outstanding. It's just a matter of that offense clicking.
Well, you look at Kansas City, like they were down a wide receiver. They did not
Right.
like injuries, and they needed more weapons. So that's why they go out there and get DeAndre Hopkins last week. They needed someone to come in. Baltimore picking up Cooper. They let go of Stephon Diggs last year. Amari Cooper, Buffalo Bills.
Buffalo. You said Baltimore.
Oh, sorry. I meant Buffalo. So they let go of Stephon Diggs, and they're down, with the wide receiver group. That makes sense. But I don't see anything with the Packers that they should go out and add to this team.
Yeah. I don't really either. I don't expect there to be any moves by the Packers, but I was just curious your opinion on it, because there have been some kind of blockbuster trades made in the last few days. You talked about Cooper to Buffalo. You talked about DeAndre Hopkins to Kansas City. Both of those make a lot of sense. And today, Deontay Johnson, who was a longtime Steeler, was with the Carolina Panthers this season. He was traded to the Ravens today. That was kind of a blockbuster trade. Just another weapon for Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. And then another trade that happened today, Vikings traded for a tackle from Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So kind of shoring up their offensive line that they needed to figure out, because giving up a lot of sacks this year.
I mean, we can always use more depth on the offensive line, but I don't think there's a need.
I don't
going trade for him. We haven't had any major setbacks on the injury side. We don't even know what we have out of Jordan Morgan at this point. So maybe that's the in-house free agent that you need. Cooper Kupp's, his name has come up a lot, not necessarily with the Packers, but to your point, I don't know. I don't think the Rams trade him away. I think
I think all that
Minnesota last week definitely helped the cause for, okay, let's keep him on this roster because we can win games with both him and Nakua on the roster.
I think Sean McVay put a kibosh to all the Cooper Kupp trade talks.
Okay.
Because all those trade talks were right before the Vikings game. And then Cooper was active, Puka Nacua was active, and the Rams really put it on this Vikings team. And after the game, I'm pretty sure Sean McVay came out and said, yeah, this guy's not going anywhere. So
Yeah.
I don't think that one happens. I mean, I'm sure we'll still see some big trades before next Tuesday. But I don't think the Packers will be involved.
Is Myles Garrett still on the Browns, right?
Yes. Yep. That was one
Maybe.
that there was a lot of talk of the Packers going after him or the Bears going after him. Like, I'm on all these NFC North trash talk pages on Facebook and stuff like that. So there were multiple posts about NFC North teams going after Myles Garrett. Well, and the Lions too, especially after Aiden Hutchinson's done for the year. But he hasn't gone anywhere yet.
That'd probably be the only one that I'd want. I'd trade away Preston Smith, Myles Garrett, and then call it. I'd even give up a draft pick.
Yeah. Well, you'd have to. I don't think the Browns trade Preston Smith for Myles Garrett straight up. That's for sure.
I don't know. You get a team that's in a real desperate rebuilding year, and I mean,
are they? They just beat the Ravens.
They just beat the Ravens, and that's their Super Bowl for the season. Good job, Browns. You did it, but you get a gold star. Whatever. They're not gonna. Whatever. But yeah, that's all I got on the trade talk.
Yeah.
Outside of that, we got to talk about Robert Saleh. Pretty crazy. I have a lot of people reach out to me since news broke that he was at Packers practice. Have they actually officially hired him? Because I don't know.
Have. I don't know if he's on the payroll or if he's just there.
See it?
Well, because the Jets are still paying him.
Oh yeah, $20,000.
He's still under contract, so he doesn't need a contract with the Packers. He can be there. He can hang out as much as he wants. He doesn't care.
Yeah, and I don't think that. So kind of let's back it up a little bit. So last Wednesday, because it always happens the day after we record, Saleh shows up at practice. They asked Matt LaFleur on his press conference, is he helping out with the defense? Absolutely not. They brought him in more as an offensive consultant to kind of help the offense understand how defenses see their offense and they can kind of counter against that. Matt spoke very highly of Halfley and his defense, and they're going to go through growing pains, and we're going to leave that whole defense alone. This isn't about that. But then even hearing Halfley in his interview, he's like, I have a relationship with Saleh, and we're good buddies. And if he wants to be around here and he has pointers, I'm all for it. Did you watch the Halfley interview last week?
No, I didn't. No.
Yeah, okay. You gotta stop asking if you watch. I don't watch a lot of interviews, so I will say
I don't watch any really.
Oh,
so
apparently that's what it sounds like. You have to go back and watch that interview from last week. I'm sure Halfley will speak again tomorrow, Wednesday or Thursday, something like that. But again, we're getting a little bit off topic, but it's the weave. We're going to do the weave right now where we kind of come back together. The Trump saying, thought you'd like that one. Anyway.
I haven't heard that one, honestly.
Oh, okay. You got to watch the Halfley interview. Once again, the guy I know why these players buy into him and why they want to fight for him and play for him. He's so genuine. He takes none of the credit. He just cares about winning football games. And that was the point that he was making is if Halfley's going to come in and he's got some pointers and it's going to make us win games, sure, absolutely. I'll take all the feedback I can get or suggestions that we can get. Completely selfless. Absolutely love him on the defense. But weaving back to Saleh, pretty interesting. You take both Halfley said that the Jets made a mistake by firing him, and then he shows up in Green Bay. They're Wednesday and Thursday last week, and we're probably going to see him the rest of the way.
Yeah. We kind of talked about it a little bit after he got fired. Like we talked about how if it was still Joe Barry in Green Bay, if he gets fired and Saleh comes in as the D coordinator. And I remember I even mentioned, does that still happen even with Halfley? Obviously, I was joking about that. I don't think that was even a consideration. But we did talk about Saleh coming to Green Bay, and sure enough, here he is. Yeah, I think we see more of him. And I see, the major sports media outlets talking about this role that LaFleur has said that he's going to have consulting for the offense. And I've seen ESPN analysts and stuff like that say, like, that's not even a thing. That's not even a position on a football staff. Why not? That makes total sense to me. He's a very defensive minded coach and brings a lot to the table. Why not have him consult with your offense? You want your offense to know what these defenses are thinking and be able to anticipate and take advantage of mistakes that the defense is going to make. Why not have a defensive guy consulting your offense? It makes a lot of sense to me.
Well, and he's more motivated probably than he's ever been in his life, right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, you get a head coaching job and you're motivated to turn the team around, and you get Aaron Rodgers, and that's pressure and that's stress. Right now, no pressure, no stress. I'm a true believer that's really when you let your creativity flow and the best in you comes out. And I think he comes into Green Bay on Wednesday. He's wearing just a black hoodie. On Thursday, he's actually wearing a hoodie with a Packers logo on it, walking around the practice field. I would not be surprised. He is a football-minded person that Matt LaFleur said that you should be on a beach somewhere, go enjoy the rest of your season. And he's like, no, I'd rather come and hang out with you guys and try to, coach. I want to be part of the NFL. So I would not be surprised if he has already dissected all the film. That's probably what he doesn't travel with the team. So he probably was watching the Lions game, kind of dissecting a little bit of how the Packers did against Jacksonville. It's just, to your point, it's another person that is there. But the guy's brilliant. He had an awesome career in San Francisco as the defensive coordinator. He got screwed over to the nth degree out in New York. They obviously haven't done any better without him. It's great. It's awesome to see. And I love outside of just his football acumen, to have another person in that organization that Matt LaFleur trusts and believes in just does so much for the rest of his team and the organization.
Yeah. I really got to tip my hat again to the organization in general. Like, you don't see, and I guess maybe it's because we are Packer fans and we're really tuned in to what's happening with this team. But it feels like to me, the things that this Packers organization as a whole is doing, we're not seeing other teams doing things like this. There's not other teams doing things like they've done in the draft and built this super young, talented, up and coming team. You don't see that throughout the rest of the NFL. So you got to tip your hat to the front office, the coaching staff, all the way down to the players, all the way down to the training staff. The Packers organization is doing something different, and I think it's going to they're going to reap the rewards of it, if not this year, very soon.
Yeah, and it goes without saying, I think one of the biggest reasons why you and I are Packers fans, it's the organization. It's always been just what this team stands for, and they don't have the ego right now. Like, to expand on your point, they don't have the ego of a president or an owner or anything like that says absolutely not, that we're not going to operate X, Y, and Z or that way. It's a culture within that entire front office, and Mark Murphy all the way down the chain. It's pretty cool. They're trying something, and it might be unheard of, but there's nothing but positives that come with having Saleh there to be in that room with the coaches.
Yeah. Yeah. And kind of the last thing that I want to touch on with the Packers, because obviously we had a whole episode talking about the Packers week 8 and coming up week 9. I didn't touch on it in the last episode, but the Jordan Love injury. So I had a couple of thoughts about that one. Originally, when we saw the play where he obviously got injured, at first my mind was the knee, that he has a brace on it. He tweaked it, And it makes sense. I mean, I remember when I was in high school, I sprained my ankle early in the season, and every single practice, every single game, I retweaked that ankle and was dealing with it the entire season. So my first thought was, okay, he tweaked the knee. He looks like he's still fairly mobile. Um, you know, he's still able to, do some stuff. Hopefully, you know, it was just a tweak, right? But obviously now it came out that it was a groin injury, which probably is better news. A muscle injury is much better than a ligament injury. Talking about, I mean, athletic training and physical therapy, a muscle has got more blood flow to it than a ligament does. So a muscle heals a lot faster um, than a ligament, like the knee injury is. So the groin injury is probably a better injury to have had. But I'm sure there's a lot of Packers fans out there that are questioning Jordan Love's durability now. He had the knee injury, now he's got the groin injury. What I would say to Packers fans that are concerned about that, the groin injury, I feel like is a correlation to the knee injury, right? So he had this knee injury. He's naturally going to favor that knee, and you're automatically going to start using muscle groups that you don't normally use because you're compensating for that injury. So I feel like this groin injury is just a compensation for the previous knee injury. I don't foresee it being a continuing issue with Jordan
Right.
Love. He had this freak knee injury week 1. He got rolled up, twisted around. It sucks. The groin injury, I think, is just because of that. But with this bye week coming up, I think he's going to be able to get even more healthy, and we hopefully won't have to think about Jordan Love's injuries too much more the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to make a point of that too. And surprise, surprise, we're on the same wavelength here when it comes to this injury. It's no different. You don't have to look any further than the Christian Watson hamstring debacle that plagued him for the last couple of seasons. What he discovered is was it that one leg was longer than the other or shorter than the other? Something was off with his balance of his body. And
Mhm.
all it took was discovering that, and he was putting more pressure on that specific hamstring, and that was causing the hamstring to give him issues throughout his first few seasons. I'm right there with you. I think the groin injury is a direct correlation to how he's been gingerly using that leg and kind of compensating with other parts of his body, and it just threw his whole balance off. And I think once that leg fully heals, then the rest of it's going to be fine. And long term, I'm right there with you. So
Yeah.
great point, great insight. Packers fans, don't worry. Jordan Love is not going to be a historical injury concern. It's just the nature of it. He hasn't had, and I'm not sure like the bye week's exactly going to solve the problems. This could be something that we see linger throughout my opinion is that it lingers in some capacity throughout the rest of the year. But hopefully it's not debilitating enough where he can't play in games where we need him. We'll find out on Sunday if this is going to be one of those
Yeah.
instances where he's going to have to play or not play because he's dealing with an injury. But it's it's not the season hasn't gone to script so far by any means. I
Right.
mean, 6-2 is a great record. Don't get me wrong, but we've had our surprises so far throughout the
Yeah.
season.
Well, and I don't know. I don't think the season's gone to script or what we thought was the script for any team in the NFL. Very
That's a
few. I
great
mean, the Kansas City Chiefs, maybe. That's about it.
Well, that's a great way to segue over to our power rankings, right? Because that gets my mind churning a little bit. So I'm not going to try and overlay this or share the screen where I have the power rankings because I just feel like it's
It's
going to
fine.
break something. I sent you our week 9 or the actual mock up that's going to be posted on social media as well as probably on the side by side on the screen. Uh, so you made the big decision to finally drop Kansas City from number 1 in your spot. I don't hold that against you whatsoever. I I would have done the same thing. I think that Detroit is the best team in the football league right now. They look like the most dominant team. But until I'm not going to backtrack until Kansas City loses, I'll keep them in that one spot. But Detroit looks way better than Kansas City. And you have them at number 1 in yours. At number 3, you bring up the Buffalo Bills. Why don't you just go ahead and run through yours first? I'll run through mine.
Yeah, so I moved the Buffalo Bills up to number 3. They had a decisive win last week. The addition of Amari Cooper just strengthens them as a team in these power rankings. I think we see more and more progression with their offense. Their defense is one of the top in the league. And a big part of them moving up was the Ravens moving down. So I'll just continue through. I got Green Bay at number 4. Obviously, Packers squeaked out a win, but I touched on it at the end of last episode. The resiliency and the depth that this Packers team has to lose Jordan Love essentially early in the game. I mean, we can consider even though he continued to play, his injury hindered that offense. So Jordan Love getting injured early and the resiliency and the depth to still come out with a win shows me that this team is top 5 in the league still. At number 5, I have Washington. They had a pretty exciting win over the Bears last week. Stuck it out. I mean, this Washington team is real. The beginning of the season, it was like, okay, they're winning some games, but how long can this last? They're the real deal. So until they start falling apart, I'm gonna have them moving up the power rankings.
I was real quick. Like, I have not been following the Commanders all that much. I see that they win. And I've also kind of had them moving up my power rankings to an extent, but I completely forgot. For whatever reason, I thought Ron Rivera was still their head coach. Dan Quinn, I didn't notice until Sunday. I'm like, that's right. Dan Quinn left Dallas, went to coach the Washington Commanders, and that has to have done something. Like, Dan Quinn ran a really solid defense for the Cowboys last year. Maybe not in that last game of the season where the Packers absolutely smoked them, but I think that that's also created a type of resurgence in that organization. And it's cool to see that organization do well after all the drama that they've been through the last few seasons.
Yeah,
and it's cool to see. So go ahead, continue.
Yeah, I mean, sticking with the Commanders, I do still think there's question marks with their defense. But this last week against the Bears, I mean, the Bears the previous week had put up a bunch of points and had a pretty dominant win over New England, right?
Jacksonville beat New England. The Bears had a bye week before, I believe. But before that,
whatever the last.
We don't know what we're talking about. We don't follow football. I'm with you though.
But I mean, the previous game the Bears played, they had put up a bunch of points and their offense looked solid. And so for the Washington defense to hold them to, what was it, 18 points?
No, less than that.
I think it was 18 points. I mean, so my question marks are with their defense, but they held pretty strong against the Bears. Moving on to number 6, I dropped the Baltimore Ravens, started number 6. They lost to the Browns. I mean, I can definitely understand it being a fluke game and keeping them higher, but they lost to the Browns. That was not expected. It was a bad game. And I've said it earlier this season. I feel like this Ravens team is going to be up and down. They have weeks where they look like the best team in the league, and then they have weeks like this where they lose to a bad team. Let's be real. The Browns are a bad team. Sorry, Lauren. Yep. They're bad. So it's this Ravens team, just, I feel like as the season goes on, they're going to be up and down. It feels like that's kind of the way they are every year. Moving on to number 7, Philly, again, another dominant win. I think after their bye week, they came back, they got healthy, and we're going to see them continue to move up. They have so many weapons on that offense, and their defense is no slouch either. They've got, got some issues in the secondary, but still a pretty decent defense. So I got Philly at 7. Pittsburgh has,
What a
oddly
shocker.
enough, stuck in these power rankings week in and week out. They still are finding ways to win games. They almost gave it up against the Giants on Monday night, but yeah, I don't know.
But you took the Giants, though, not to rub it in, but you thought that could have been one of those games where
I mean, I feel like some of these teams were just a week away from them reverting back to what we originally thought their season would be. And so that's why I have these weeks where I'll take a struggling Giants team to beat this Pittsburgh team that keeps winning, because I just don't necessarily believe it yet. Right. I don't have full faith in them being as good as their record shows. So yeah, Pittsburgh's been a surprise. Houston,
that one surprised me. I don't that low.
Yeah, Houston did win this last week, but I don't know. I think part of the reason why they dropped so far, or they dropped in the rankings at least, because they only dropped from, I think I had them at 8 last week. So I only dropped them one spot, I believe.
Yep, you had them at 8 last week. Yep.
Yeah, so I think the only reason I had them drop was because of the movement above them.
Sure.
So it wasn't necessarily because of the Texans' performance. But, I mean, talking about the Texans, it did come out today that Stefan Diggs is done for the season. He tore his ACL, so it's just another weapon that they've lost. Their other star receiver, Nico Collins, will be coming back from IR soon. But until he does, their offense isn't as powerful as it was to start the season. And then to round out the top 10, I did leave the Vikings in the top 10. They had their second loss in a row. Obviously, they started out 5-0. We talked about last time they started out 5-0. Are we going to continue to see that? They match up with they match up with a Colts team that's a little bit interesting this week. So yeah, we'll get to schedule predictions, but yeah, that rounds out my top 10. Minnesota.
Did I steal your thunder at all with your Detroit at number 1? Do you want to put any more comments on that, or did I?
No, I don't think you really stole my thunder. I think that it was hard for me to drop Kansas City down. The really main reason why I did was because of how dominant the Lions' wins have been compared to the Chiefs' wins. I mean, the Chiefs still last week snuck out a win. It was I don't remember the final score, but it was like 20-something to 20-something at the end of the game. And that's what it's been week in and week out for the Chiefs. So I feel like it's just a matter of time for some of these Chiefs games to start going the other way. As opposed to the Lions game where it was 52-14 or whatever, like just annihilating, granted a not very good Titans team, but just obliterating them, as opposed to the Chiefs squeaking them out each week. So that was my justification for putting the Lions at 1. But
no, I totally would have had Detroit at number 1 in my power rankings too. But again, until Kansas City loses, I'm just going to let them hang on to that 1 spot. I mean, there were times to start the season where I was going to have San Francisco. I might have thought I even had San Francisco at number 1 in my week 1 power rankings, but boy, how far that has fallen for them. At 3, you'll notice on my side, not a ton of movement. I feel pretty confident about where I had these teams last week, and I wanted to kind of, I did a few tweaks here and there. Amari Cooper going to the Buffalo Bills and them winning had me boost them up to the number 4 spot. That does result as Green Bay falling down to the 5 spot. And as we've discussed, probably in too much length, I just need to see more consistency out of this Packers team. And I'm just not seeing it yet. They came away with a narrow victory that probably shouldn't have been as close of a game. So they get penalized, drop down only 1 spot week over week. But Washington stays there at number 6 for me. I do still feel like Minnesota is a better team than many of the teams in the league. And specifically, I mean, let me just finish this real quick. Houston stays at 8. Pittsburgh stays at 9. I move Philadelphia up to number 10. That drops the Bears out. Sorry, Bears fan, but circling back. Looking at the schedule, 8 weeks through the season, I mean, outside of the Lions, and I'm not just saying this because we're facing them this week, but is there another out of the 31 teams out there that is just showing the dominance that they are? The whole top 10 could be very interchangeable. I look at your side, I look at my side. If these teams are playing, it's kind of a 50-50 coin toss at who's going to come away with that victory. Unless it's the Lions.
Yeah.
And maybe the Chiefs.
I mean, you could argue the Ravens because they've had many games this season where they've looked like nobody could beat them.
Right.
But then they also have these one-off games where they lose to a team that they should destroy. So yeah, I guess if the Ravens play to the best of their ability and don't make mistakes like they did last week, they're a pretty dominant team in this league.
But that's the point,
possibly,
right? So Kansas City's 7-0. Detroit Lions had that one downfall game, but I've looked dominant. Baltimore, a little bit up and down. Buffalo, 6-2, another one of those 6-2 teams, just like so many of these other teams in our power rankings. Good, consistent, somewhat consistent, but they've shown weaknesses and inconsistencies. Packers, we talked about that. Commanders, they squeaked one out against the Bears. Bears might be better than we think, but Bears also had no business being in that game or winning that game or coming close to winning that game. Hail Mary shouldn't have decided that game. Minnesota, a way better team than we expected, but 5-0 is no small feat, and the dominance that they had those first 5 weeks is very impressive. They're kind of an up and down team. Texans, those injuries are going to hurt them. Steelers, winning games that we did not expect them to win. And the Eagles, a team that I think both of us had in our top 5 or 6 of the power rankings in week 1, finally starting to figure themselves out. But halfway
still
through
up
the
and
season,
down.
Right. Halfway through the season, it's really like it kind of looks like it's 2 teams and then everyone else just trying to stay consistent. But those other 2 teams have really been able to do that. And
yeah,
that's where power rankings
honestly, it's fun though. The week in and week out, not necessarily knowing what teams are gonna dominate or win. It shows that the league itself in general is pretty even, and that's where it's the most fun. It's not fun having 2 or 3 standout teams that are way and above the rest of the league. There's no question about it. I would much rather have.
You're contradicting yourself because right now we have 2 teams that stand out amongst the whole league, and then it's just a freaking cluster below it, right? You can't really predict those teams.
Yeah, it's fun though. I would prefer it that way, honestly.
Well, we'll do a quick recap of our week 8 predictions, just real quick. We're not going to dive into teams. We can dive into teams more. I did not do the full tally of how we all fared out. So you put a finger up for every matchup you won. I'll put a finger up for every matchup I won. All right. All right. Rams and Vikings. I had the Rams. Give me a thumbs up. Give me there it is. Bengals and Eagles. You had the Eagles. Give me your finger. Thank you. Thank you for playing along. We both took the Ravens. They lost. We both took Detroit. I took the Cardinals, who upset the Dolphins. We both took the Jets. Freaking Jets. You better still have one finger.
I have 2.
Do you? Oh, yeah. Ooh. Raven. No. Lions and the Eagles. Okay, I got 3. Stay with me. Don't cheat. Falcons beat the Buccaneers, right?
Yes.
Yes. All right.
It was
Packers.
another that
We're not getting into it. We're not getting into it right now. We both took the Packers. They came away with 1. Houston won. They beat the Colts.
we both took
Chargers.
Houston, right?
We did. Yep. Chargers. We both took. Did they beat New Orleans? Yes. Bills beat the Seahawks. Go ahead and put a finger up. I had the Seahawks. We both took the Broncos. We both took the Chiefs. We both took the Commanders. I took the Niners. And I took the Steelers. So I had, get out of here. You took the Giants and you took the Cowboys. Get out of here. What did you have? I have 12.
I don't even know how.
Down?
Okay, so you were putting fingers up even when we both picked. So there were some times where you were putting fingers up. Right, sometimes you put a finger up when we both picked the same team that won. Sometimes you didn't. So I wasn't sure where we were at with it.
All right. From the top. Rams. Put a finger up for the Eagles. 1-1. Ravens. No fingers. Lions. Yeah. 2-2. All right. I had the Cardinals. 3-2. I had the Falcons. 4-2. Packers, 5-3. Texans, 6-4. Chargers, 7-5. You took the Bills, so 7-6. Thank you. Broncos, we both took 8-7. All right. Trying to stay. We both took the Chiefs, 9-8. Both took the Commanders, 10-9. You had 9 because I took the Niners and the Steelers. For 12-9. There we go. Chug a beer.
This is all I got left.
You're not kidding. All right. So there's our rapid fire, which wasn't so rapid because someone decided not to keep their fingers up.
We can edit it out.
Recap. No, we're keeping that in. It's unedited. Okay. Let's get to week 9. Big week 9 coming up ahead of us, and then we'll wrap this video up. We'll call it an evening. Starts on Thursday Night Football, where the New York Jets face off against the injured Houston Texans. I got my spreads and all, I think. I just got to make it. New York opens as a 2-point favorite against the Houston Texans.
Okay.
Jets are at home.
Okay,
no,
before you get further into this, let me pull up the quickest betting site that I can, and I'm going to take bets on every one of these games where the spread is ridiculous.
Okay, go for it.
No, I'm joking. Go ahead.
So we both took the Jets last week. We discussed, you brought up the injuries with Stephon Diggs and Nico Collins on the Houston side. New York has not been able to figure out who the heck they are. They are probably turning into the biggest dumpster fire, if they are not already, of the 24 season. My gut says to take New York for some stupid reason, but you're a Houston boy, and that worries me.
Yeah, I'm taking the Texans. Come on. I'm taking the Texans.
Why? Because the Jets are that bad?
Yes.
Okay.
And because I don't think, so the Stephon Diggs injury does make a difference, but the Texans still have weapons around CJ Stroud, Joe Mixon, Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz. They got another young receiver. I think his name's Xavier Hutchinson. who I'm going to go pick up in all my fantasy leagues right after this. So, taking the Texans.
I'll take the Jets. Let's do it.
Okay.
At home, Thursday Night Football, coming off back-to-back losses with Devontae Adams. It's gotta happen. At some point, they have to win a game.
Yeah. Maybe against the Panthers or something, but.
All right, so that's your one gimme, maybe. I don't know. I actually think the Jets will win that game. I don't know why. Dallas is the next game. They head to Atlanta to face off against the Falcons. Falcons coming off of a victory against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which I believe that means that they swept them. A little bit of a surprise. Are we even confident Buccaneers won or lost?
Yes.
Okay. So
No.
I'm not either. I gotta check that.
I'm
That's the Falcons.
80% sure the
30-26.
Falcons won. Yeah.
So Falcons have swept the Buccaneers. They've been an up and down team, but then you look at this Cowboys team, which one of us took to beat up on the 49ers last week. Coin toss type of a game. What team's going to show up, right?
Yeah.
I knew you were going to take Houston last time, so I'm going to take the Cowboys in this one.
Okay. I was going to take Atlanta.
All right. Beautiful. Beautiful. Your Miami Dolphins head to Buffalo. Not that big of a spread, actually. So Tua's back. How's that going for them?
Yeah, they still ended up losing, but I mean, it's still a better offense than they were without Tua. That's for sure.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I taking the Bills still.
Did Tua look good? Like,
I didn't watch any of the game or any of the highlights.
Okay.
Honestly.
So, we're with Miami. They lost the Cardinals by 1 point. 1 point game. Tua was 28 for 38, 234 yards, 1 touchdown. QBR 48.3. Not great.
Not great.
Tyreek Hill had 72 yards. He was the leading receiver. Not great. Man. I mean, they are a different offense with the Miami or with Tua back there, and if the concussion doesn't happen like it did, and he's been playing healthy this whole time, it's probably a game that I might even take a flyer at Miami, but
yeah,
I'll take Buffalo at home. Why not? You lift the tape bet. Vegas travels to Cincinnati. Bengals, if you want to make a bet, the Bengals are 7-point favorites. Vegas dropped one to the Kansas City Chiefs, 27-20. The Bengals played football. No, I don't think they did. Did they have a bye week? They had a bye week. They're coming off of a bye week. Nope, they're not. They got destroyed by the Philadelphia Eagles. Insight? You got some insight on this one?
Not really. I'm taking the Bengals. I mean, this Vegas team is... Oh, they're bad. They're very bad.
All right, I'll take the Cincinnati as well. I'll take the Cincinnati. Los Angeles Chargers head to Cleveland. Chargers are only a 1.5 point favorite, and that probably has a lot to do with the Browns upsetting the Ravens. That's a flash in the pan, in my opinion. I don't think we can win this game. I'm going to take the Chargers once again.
Yeah, that's why
the Chargers haven't looked great either, though. Like, Herbert
the Chargers
is not playing well.
He played well last week, I believe. I thought I saw a stat that his completion percentage was pretty high last week. Don't quote me on that, but I thought I saw something that he played pretty well. And then J.K. Dobbins has played well consistently this season. I don't know. The Chargers they're not terrible.
4-3. And yeah, they beat up on those Saints, or 4 Saints. Yeah, so we're both taking the Chargers in that one. New England travels to Tennessee. Battle of the bad teams. Tennessee opens as 3.5 point favorites. They're still rocking Will Levis, right?
Yep, they are. New England is. Oh, what happened? I think Drake May got injured, so
Yeah,
Jacoby
they had to
Brissett was
compete.
back. Yep, Jacoby was back in. Who you taking?
I'll take New England.
Yeah, I was going to take New England as well. But because you're taking New England, I'll take Tennessee.
You're playing my strategy now. I got it. Yeah. Lions. Commanders travel to the New York Giants. Jaden Daniels still dealing with that rib injury. Didn't have his greatest game, I think, against the Bears. There were I think was the only touchdown that Hail Mary. I feel like it was a field goal heavy game that entire game.
I don't think that was the only touchdown, but there wasn't very many, obviously. Before the Hail Mary, it was 15-18, I think. So lots of field goals.
Washington kicking 4 for 5 on field goals, and Chicago kicking. They get 15 points. Okay, DeAndre Swift had a rushing touchdown. I got him 7. I don't see any field goals out of this team. 0 for 0. 1 extra point. Did a defense score and they went for 2? Is that what happened? I didn't. No. How did they score 15 points, Christian?
Is 15 correct? I don't know.
Oh, it was a punt. Yes, punt return. That's what it was. Nope, that wasn't it either. There was no punt return. I have no idea. I have no idea how they got the 15 points. Did you watch the game?
No. All I saw was I literally just watched the highlight of the Hail Mary at the end.
2 rushing touchdowns. DeAndre Swift and Roshan Johnson. There you go. Fun fact for you. That's how they got it. Anywho, there's a sidetrack if I've ever seen one. Washington. That was way too long of a build up for Washington and Giants. We're both taking Washington. Okay. All right. So if New England and Tennessee was bad, wait until you hear about this one. The New Orleans Saints travel to Carolina. New Orleans opens as a 7-point favorite, though. So
7 points? Really?
they have not won a game since week 2.
Yeah, I understand, but it's the Panthers.
What?
Anyway.
Yeah, I would take Carolina on points there.
Yeah, for sure. To cover the spread, yes, absolutely. But I'm still going to take the Saints to win it. Gears are turning.
I'll take the Panthers. Let's do this.
Okay. Yep. I don't blame you. I can see it happening. But a 7-point spread, come on. It's 2 bad teams. Like, it should be a 3 or 4 point spread.
Right. Well, and Bo Nix and the Broncos are heading to Baltimore. We just lost to the Browns. Well, Baltimore opens up as 9.5-point favorites.
Yeah. That's
Baltimore
not as surprising to me because of what we've seen out of the Ravens in other games this season. But
yeah, back-to-back.
It's still a surprise.
Either. I saw Denver climb as high as number 11 on power rankings, which was a little bit of a surprise to me. But
yeah,
again, it gets real blurry after those first 2 teams. I mean, anybody can be the number 3 best team in the NFL, even the Broncos, even the Panthers. You're just not. I'm just checking to see if you're listening. You're just nodding along or whatever I think. Jacksonville at Philadelphia. Trevor Lawrence is looking better. Eagles are also looking better. Philadelphia is a 7.5-point favorite. They're at home. I'll take the Eagles in that one.
Mm-hmm.
You got a lot of picks for me. Chicago at Arizona. I will go whoever you do not pick in this game.
I took Arizona.
Perfect. I'll take Chicago. That's who I wanted to take. Anyway,
I bet you did.
I actually did. I think the Bears are better than what we give them credit for. You give them credit for. We know who's winning the Detroit Packers game, unfortunately. Lions, I shouldn't say it like that. The Packers could win that game.
Awful way to say it. Why would you do that? So I didn't say it in after our score predictions. Obviously, we both picked the Packers to lose.
Got real somber during that point. Yeah.
Obviously, I'm going to be cheering and hopeful that the Packers win. Like, I 100%. Hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Just the way the season and way this specific week has played out, I just don't see them winning. But they certainly could win this game.
They could win, for sure. I don't know how any of that's going to edit because the dual mics do not work well. But if it works like how I heard it, it's gold. That's gold right there.
Gold.
No, I agree. Right. The Packers could win it.
They could.
They're going to be in their green jerseys. Anything.
God, I love those jerseys.
Oh, they're my favorite jerseys. My wife never watches this, but if she was watching this, I'd tell her to buy one of those jerseys.
That's what I keep hoping for too. My wife's like, "What do you want for your birthday? What do you want for Christmas?" That's what I want. That's exactly what I want.
I had my birthday. I got this Packers trivia challenge game.
Ooh.
I don't know who I'm going to play. Maybe we'll play this on our bye week.
Play this on bye week. Yeah.
Perfect. I didn't read like the examples on the back, and I'm like, I have no idea what any of these.
What's the examples? Give me the examples.
What is the Packers' record for the number of punts in a game held by Clark Hinkle, 1933, and Jug Gerard in 1950?
Wow. Yeah. No clue.
I know.
12.
Close. 11. Very good.
Hey.
Impressive. Yeah, that is impressive.
Thank you.
What Packers quarterback made a cameo appearance in the TV series Game of Thrones?
Packers quarterback, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, that one's easy. What Packers quarterback holds the current completion record with 55,377 completions?
I would assume Aaron Rodgers.
Brett Favre. Wrong.
Really?
Sorry, the correct answer is Brett Favre.
Okay. All right. Let's save it. Let's save it for bye week.
A little preview for you fellas and gals out there for next week. That first one is actually the only one I read, and I'm like, I'm not going to know any of these. The rest of them are pretty easy. The Rams head to Seattle, the Legion of Boom. 12th man. Doesn't exist. I actually read an article yesterday about how the Legion of Boom doesn't exist anymore. Who did they play this last week? The Bills? No, a couple weeks ago they played the Bills.
No, they played. You had picked them, and I picked the opposite team. Why am I spacing on this? We literally just talked about this. They got beat pretty bad, honestly.
It was the Bills.
Okay.
Bills went to Seattle, and I read an article about how there were so many Bills fans in that stadium, and that entire 12th man home field advantage just no longer. Yeah, it no longer exists in Seattle.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Very. Look at this. Never mind. I was going to make a comment, but it's not football related necessarily. So I was going to say, look at the city of Seattle in general. It's like makes sense that they don't have a lot of fans.
We just lost our Seattle fan base. Oh, are we ever gonna? We're never gonna financially recover. When it comes to
neither is the city of Seattle.
The Rams are gonna head there on Sunday, face off against the Seahawks. Seahawks are at home. Rams are 1.5 point favorite. Seattle just lost to the Bills, got destroyed, and the Rams upset. I'd call it an upset of the Vikings. Division matchup. Seattle has shown signs certain games. You're going to take the Rams, and I'm going to take the Rams too. So let's just move on to the next one.
Nope. If you're taking the Rams, I'm taking the Seahawks.
Great. All right. Welcome to the game. Colts and Vikings at Minnesota, Sunday Night Football. Now, you had prefaced or teased earlier that this would be an interesting game. Now, this has probably a lot to do with Anthony Richardson needing to take a break last Sunday and pulled himself out of the game. And now Joe Flacco is coming in at quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. Do you think the Colts have a shot in this game?
I think the Colts are a better team with Joe Flacco, honestly. Their offense runs better. So I'm gonna take the Colts in this one. It might be a surprise. It might be an upset, but I'm gonna roll with it.
Easy come, easy go with your score predictions. I will take the Vikings in this one. At home, coming up 2 losses.
I mean, they're only going to win 3 more games this year, so you got to be selective on which ones they win.
And then Monday night, Tampa Bay travels to Kansas City. That's actually a pretty good game in my head, but the spread says a 9-point favorite for Kansas City. You're taking the Chiefs.
Yeah, I think I am. This Bucs team, we talked about it last week. Their 2 top wide receivers are out. I don't think Mike Evans is coming back this week. The Chiefs just brought in DeAndre Hopkins, who is just going to know the playbook better this week than he did last week, obviously. So I think this is the recipe for the Chiefs to stay undefeated for now.
Much as I want to take with Tampa Bay, I'm living in the past of week 4 or something, thinking about this team. They should have beat the Falcons, even though I took the Falcons. There's your test, not your litmus test, but just your test of kind of where this team is with their injuries. So I will take the Falcons to lose as well. I'll take the Chiefs to win that one. That will wrap up our week 9 score predictions. And there you have it. You're yawning.
Yeah. That wasn't a yawn. That was a belch. A burp.
Apologies. Maybe I am too rough on you. I completely contradicted everything I opened up this video with. Got the victory shades back on. Final thoughts, final statements, closing arguments, if you will, as we close the chapter on this episode and live in the decisions we've made heading into.
I haven't said it in quite a few weeks here, but Jordan Love, if you'd like to join us for one of our episodes, that'd be great. We'd love to have you. Really, any Packers players on the roster currently, that'd be super fun.
This is the first video I've done since we've recorded together where I have a more backwards hat, but I brought out my dad hat that I used to wear back in 2019.
I got a few dad hats.
Yeah?
Few dad hats.
Where you wear them forward, right?
Oh, yeah. I honestly, so the hat forward, backward. So back when I was in college, this is how I wore my hat all the time. In the last few years, it's always forward, mostly more ball caps like that. But since we started the podcast, I've gone back to this backwards cap with these types of hats.
That looks good.
This is probably my favorite hat.
Wisco.
Had it for a while. With a leather patch on there.
Beautiful. Well, that's my hat comment. For those of you sticking around, don't forget to vote. Go out and vote.
Yes. Next week.
Next time we record, we might have a new president. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
We won't know by then.
We might know.
There'll be a couple weeks probably.
Well, get out and vote. It's important to do that. And I never know how to end these videos. So you close this one out. Close this one out, Christian.
Got me on the spot here.
I can hear your wife like rattling dishes in the background. What's going on over there?
No, that's me tapping on my glass. Because it's empty.
Yeah, mine's about there too.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Tune in next week for another Packers podcast.
Riveting. And we're out.